Hey there, brother. Trumpomaniacs. Yeah, dude, I tell you what, I got fired up when I saw Hulkster. Anyway, if you want to also get fired up, head over to onesready.com. Check out some of our Attack Elite gear. Check out some of our merch. We've got some, we don't have any Trumpomaniac or Hulkamaniac or, oh,
Not
yeah,
yet.
bro.
We gotta get something super patriotic, something super duper, just over the top. Like I know it's like the doldrums as we get into the heat of summer here. We're past July 4th, but I think a sweet tea would be cool. But check out onesready.com. Our merch is good. We just got to restock Hero Tea, Cone Tea, Archangel. What was the fourth one? We just restocked some stuff. Go look.
Mark your gear, cones and quitters.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, go check it out. Onesready.com. Buy some merch, buy some stickers. Find out all of our partners are on there too. That's awesome. You can shop with them directly.
Exactly.
I got a Mission Mercantile bag. That thing is sweet.
Oh, dude, straight up leather.
It's gorgeous.
Dude, the smell of leather is just, and the quality. People don't do that much anymore. I've really started getting into kind of leather. I toe hold also.
Yeah.
I know I sent you guys some of those flip flops. I ended up snagging one of their shark skin wallets.
Oh, nice,
dude.
What awesome. Is it, like a bifold or whatever? What is it?
Yeah,
I have a Ridge wallet. I've had it forever, so I'm never giving it up.
They have bifolds, but then you got the I don't have it on me, but it's just the single thing that's got 3 pockets.
Gotcha.
I like a minimalist.
Yeah, mine too. I love that Ridge wallet. It's just like a couple of cards, ID. That's it. It's awesome. That's all I ever carry.
We were wasting content, so I'm going to revisit it.
Yeah.
So somebody hit you up.
Oh no, I was going to make fun of Trent.
Yes, let's make fun of him.
There was a great. No, he's probably dead
for himself.
Yeah, he's probably dead after the Lowercase Dooms block party. From everything I saw from every piece of social media content, I was like, some of them boys turned it up. Like you could just see it. You can just see some of the pics that were like early in the day when the game got canceled, dude. Whether like when the football game got canceled, there was some dude, the Zonk. Man, there were some dudes that weren't that mad that got canceled, right? They were just like, well, hey, we were going to be here anyway. Let's send it, bro. I bet somebody has a brunch down here in Florida. No, but somebody put a comment in the comment section on one of the videos, and it said, hey, Trent, I'm going to go find it. Give me just 1 second, because I actually had this thing open.
Okay.
It was great.
Do we want to clarify? Are we doing members only right now? Or are we going to do
I think we are fine to just, we can do just a normal.
Okay.
A little BS session, just a little catch up. You know what I mean?
Well, it has been a while since we've all chatted.
I know.
I've been on the road.
You have been on the road. You hit a couple of different places. I saw that you're just out here glad handing. You saw old, BK Actual, Senior Kimber.
BK Actual.
You did. Yeah. So fill it in.
He's a handsome man.
He is a handsome man. What other stuff did you do? Because you hit like a whole bunch of road trip stuff. So
yeah. I was out in San Diego, doing some weapon school stuff, and then just kind of in the off time I went and visited BK Actual out, and just real quick, little 20-minute stop, unfortunately, because I have a bad way of scheduling phone calls and meetings in between.
You're super bad. Like you have a war on all of your white space at all times. You're just like, oh, I'm sorry, is that white space? I should fill it with something. I should get on a phone call.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God, that's not how a calendar works. Peaches. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm working on that. So yeah,
you're not.
Sat and BS'd with BK Actual for a little bit. And then who else did I see? I saw Laura Gordon and sat down with her. We recorded, so that was good. Nice. And if you guys aren't tracking who she is, she's one of the lead coaches at within Deep End Fitness as a whole, but also at Deep End Fitness San Diego and La Jolla and that kind of stuff. So I actually did a pool session with Deep End Fitness too, which was extremely humbling.
We talked about that. Tell them what you said. Mm-hmm. Tell them what you said.
It is a perishable skill. So if you don't know, so it was pretty cool, because I show up. I don't really, because I haven't been to a Deep End Fitness pool session. I've just been to our pool sessions, which are very regimented and that kind of stuff, and a lot of stress.
Those are very specific, right?
Yeah. So it's started out. Everybody introduces themselves. Everybody goes around a circle and says, like, hey, here's who I am, here's where I'm from, and here's what I'm looking to get out of this pool session. Okay, cool. Then we do warm-ups and that kind of stuff, and some breathing exercise. Then we hop in the pool and do some warm-ups, and that's when some of the things that I would have found easy back in the day and relaxing were not so easy and relaxing this time.
They were an emotional event. They shouldn't have been.
And then I forgot to mention there was a guy named I'll just say his name's Steve, because he will have already gone through the PJ, or he will have already gone through the guard unit selection by now.
Yeah. Okay.
But he was going to go try out for the Moffat team.
Nice. Good for him. Those boys are awesome up there. Shout out to
that was
my boy
also
Chris up at Moffat.
Yeah.
Well,
So that was also what was a little bit embarrassing, because there's probably a level of expectation too of that, like, I'm going to be just fine in the pool, and I would have been back in the day.
Right. That is the siren song of ego, right? It's like I would have the exact same reaction. Like, hey, Deep End Fitness, Vegas, I do intend on going down there and getting a workout. I do want to go down and meet everybody and say what's up. And like I said, I would. So I also said I'd beat you there. So I have to get on my horse and get there. But I would also have that reaction. Somewhere in the back of my head, there's that little piece of my ego going, you graduated in doc. You're fine. Don't worry about this pool session. You'll be fine. And you know what? That's what it hurts. When your chest starts burning, you start gupping, just doing simple stuff that everybody else is just breathing through. You're just like, oh no. Oh, I'm in danger.
Dude, there were some straight up just fish
monsters out there. Oh.
Just and
when somebody's that good in the water, bro, come on, man.
Dude, this one girl, she was doing, I think her name was Anna. She was just, doing 3 times the speed of everybody else. And I don't mean speed underwater. I'm talking about recovery speed.
Like, oh, right. Yeah, just right back into
everybody else is kind of doing, 10, 15 breaths. She's doing like 5 and boom, going. And it was dude, I remember those days. It's awesome. I can get back there. So that's the great thing about it, though, is that they are perishable, but you, through enough practice and training, you can get back to it and get that lung capacity and that kind of stuff.
And the curve is pretty high too. I always equate, how am I feeling in percentages, right? Like my nutrition. Right now, I feel like I'm eating like 90% correctly. Every once, we're going to go out and have a meal today that's a little bit processed food, but we're going to go to a nice restaurant. I'm going to order a nice thing. Like my nutrition has been great. About 10% of it is, I should be cleaning it up, but you know what? I'll take 10%, whatever. But fitness is the same way. And with us, like, man, you have so many reps behind you that you'd be like, oh yeah, this is how I'm efficient doing this. Oh, this is, okay, great. And then you start feeling better. Like I always liken it to turning a corner. Like there's a very specific, usually about 3 or 4 weeks into like a very regimented workout thing, or if I'm rolling consistently, 3 or 4 weeks in, I feel like I'm turning a corner. I'm not dreading training anymore. And I'm like powering through training and engaged in every single set because I'm getting more fit, right? And then like once you're back on that horse, it's back at it, man. I have been thinking about going and getting back into a pool for whatever reason. And that it also made me go like, because I haven't done any of that stuff for fun and on my own accord in 20 years. Every single time I've been in a pool, it's because training.
So that's some serious scar tissue, like, because that's still because I still get that, like, kind of when I go into the pool, and I got it when I showed up at Deep End Fitness.
Hilarious.
Like, La Jolla is I'm like,
La Jolla is beautiful too. California. I can't believe that, man, the state of California, if they would just figure it out, it's the most beautiful state on the face of the planet. It's amazing.
So, and but yeah, I could see improvement from like right when we started. I could tell my lung capacity was getting better, which is awesome, because there were, there were progressive ladders, like to increase distance underwater, carrying a dumbbell and doing jump squats underneath with the dumbbell and all that kind of stuff. So it was really cool. I highly recommend it. And I do also want to end up hitting up Maki and going to Vegas. So
I gotta head on Maki and see what that local fight scene be looking like. Not for myself, but I'll go watch. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to.
You're not
And
trying to get tuned up here in Vegas?
Keep your hands to yourself, my guy. I'm not trying to do any of that with any of y'all. Fucking tournament. That's when you were talking about the guy that's just, super, or the chick that was just like faster than everybody else. There's this one specific dude at the gym that his cardio is just relentless. He just it is the worst to roll with that dude. And it's no fault of his. His pace is just, I'm like, how do you keep that pace for that long? It's just that it's ridiculous to watch when somebody's in that kind of shape. So shout out. All right. I found the comment that we were talking about that I laughed about. It's from, let's go, Ruben P 4567, our boy. What's up? He says, Trent was my cadre for, at the time, BA prep pilot course. Was a solid cadre. He explained a lot as simple as he could to our dumb cone minds. Wish I would have listened to him. Glad to see him involved with his podcast. So that was on the Fern Rod episode. Now, this made me laugh a couple different ways. Okay. So he explained a lot of it as simple as he could to our dumb cone minds. If there's anything that encapsulates Trent Segnaler, it's him struggling to try to explain a simple thing to simple people in front of people and having the people not get it. Like watching his face, like that is peak Trent. Like I would watch that for days. If somebody filmed that, like, hey, explain macroeconomics to this group of kindergartners, go. Watching Trent do, it's over. I would never watch anything ever again.
Yeah. It's I do enjoy hearing the Trent stories though, because Jeff Mason actually has a good Trent story, because Trent was an instructor at, I believe, Air Traffic Control School when Jeff was going through, and he said there was one day, like, and this would happen frequently, but there's one day that really sticks out in his mind, that there was a smoke session going on that was borderline probably shouldn't have been happening, or should have been probably called off because of how bad things were. It was like
nefarious.
It was almost like a shark attack of cadre, except Trent wasn't involved in it.
Okay.
And Trent kind of bebopping in, being Trent, comes in and opens the door, and he's like, and it's kind of like, you look at it, the Instagram dude that's got the hard hat on, the safety gear, and he's watching different construction sites, and it snaps too. It's hilarious. I'll show it to you next time we get it. But it's like Trent seeing this thing going on during the smoke section. Then he looks at that, and he looks at that in absolute horror, and it's like, and I guess all he did was just turn around and just shut the door.
Nope, I don't want.
It's just, I don't want anything to do with this,
dude.
He's like,
I've had a couple like
that. The less I know, the better. Nope, I'm not getting involved,
dude. Oh man,
and I guess all the codes saw him as the kind of like the savior, or the beacon of light.
He abandoned them in their time of need.
Yeah, and they're all just like, no,
you were the chosen cadre.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've been around.
He knows about that.
Oh, I hope so. I'm so glad we put this on here. There's no way for me. I have a funny story about one of my good friends and my boss. I mean, he was my officer on the deployment, so he was the commander. I was the senior enlisted. There's no way for me to tell this story, not even members only. So we took a rigger that was gay, right? And I mean, this was a while ago, so it wasn't as common. I mean, it was after Don't Ask, Don't Tell, obviously, but it wasn't so common, but it was common enough. So I go and I have this talk with the team, like your standard, everybody gets in the theater, you have 2 or 3 days to get on sleep cycle, then all your gear gets turned over, then you're actually starting to like do normal stuff. Like you're going to the gym on time, you're having your normal battle rhythm, you show up to your air crew briefs, whatever. So I wanted to level the bubbles with everybody, right? Because we had a whole bunch of different people, and basically the tone of the speech was very blunt. But the intent of the little get together was like, hey, we're here, we all work together. This is who we are. We're going to get all of this out of our system right now because I don't want to deal with this, drama that happens on these deployments. Everybody's different here. You're going to annoy everybody in this room because you're deployed with them for 6 months. So you're going to see them every single day, all day long for 6 months. They're going to annoy you. You're going to annoy them, right? Let's just level the bubbles and let's not do it. I was using extremely colorful language. Like I was using slurs. So I basically pointed to the guy and I was like, hey, is this guy? And I used a slur. And everybody was like shocked by it. And I was like, right, exactly. So you wouldn't say that to his face in here, right? So let's not say it like anywhere else around. And, you know, just mind how it is that we talk to one another. Because like he probably, well, the best part of this is the commander walks in mid-sentence. He wasn't there for the beginning of the speech. Like he got hemmed up upstairs and had to come downstairs to the team room to talk to everybody. And he legit walked in like the middle of this thing where I'm like pointing at this 100%. And I'm in my flow. And he comes in and literally it hit him so hard. He just started stretching. Like he came in and he was like, whoa. Like no, like hilarious. Like we've talked about it since then. He was like, bro, I didn't know what to do. He was like, so I don't know, man. I just started stretching. He was like, whatever. And then he looked over and what, like, there was like a master sergeant that was there. Or no, I was a senior. I think it was, oh yeah. You remember Carroll, Rich Carroll? He's a pretty notorious PJ. So he was a Marine recon. There was a period where they were taking Marine recon directly into the PJs. And he was one of those dudes. He was a senior. I don't know.
I probably should.
He was out of Vegas for a long time. That's why I asked. He was here the first time that you were here. So like when we were both here together the first time. Anyway.
Okay.
But it was hilarious because, you know, again, it was a speech. It was, you know, intended to bring everybody together. And I was using those words for shock value, you know, whatever. But it was funny to just watch the commander walk in. There's definitely been times when I was at the schoolhouse and I would walk out into something and I would look around and I'd be like, hey, who's got this? And they'd be like, I do. I'm like, okay. And I would just leave. Like, I don't want to be
involved.
I'm going to have to write the paperwork on this. It was always like, you know, as director of training or, you know, when I was the OPSU, I was just like, I don't want to be involved in this. You guys don't need me for this. I'm going to be inside. I've got other stuff to do. Appreciate it. Have a good time.
You start asking questions about why somebody's doing something during a smoke session, or why is that guy on top of that tower? Why is that guy? You're like,
it's too long to explain. Why is that guy laying on his back screaming, help me, help me? What is he doing? Why are you making him do that? I don't care. There have been some, man, smoke sessions are the funniest thing. Cause like, if you just look back on them, they're absolutely like insane. Hilarious. Like we got the absolute living dog shit smoked out of us in Florida. And it was so bad that Robbie Bean, old Chief Bean, he remembered it like 2.5 years later. Like I was an instructor at Kirtland and we were hitting a team its ass. It was a good one. There was actually a hurricane off Florida. So there was like 3 or 4 foot waves, which never happens in Florida. I mean, they were just repetitively. So we ran the team, smoked them, ran them all the way down and out to the ocean and just surf torture. Just waves pounded, make yourself wet and sandy. Disgusting. But anyway, so I'm standing there and at one point we told them, hey, take the Zodiac, go out to that pylon and come back. It's like 100 meters away, but they had to like physically row it. Like, you know, there's no engine on it. So they're just like paddling hands, no paddles either. So we're like, all right, go. And while we're sitting there, I'm standing next to Chief Bean, who's the commandant of the school. And I look at him, I was like, pretty good one today, huh? And he was like, dude, this is nothing, man. Like, you should have seen, we smoked this one team so bad. We actually made him do like flip over drills out there. And he was like, oh, love, that was you, huh? And I was like, yeah, it actually was. I was like, I have a lot of PTSD right now. Yeah. I was like, how do you think I came up with this? I was like, I built it like you guys smoked the dog shit out of us when I was a student. That's terrible. But those shenanigans do happen. Like there's, you know, that stuff is right. And by the way, at the end of that, that was actually a pretty fun one, even for the instructors, because all the instructors were out there too.
That's what I always appreciated about combat control school. Like, didn't happen at NOC, right? But combat control school, whenever we would have a smoke session, at least one of the instructors would actually be in it with us.
Bro,
and I think, and I think that was kind of their way of kind of bonding with us and going like, hey, you're going to be one of us soon. See, we're in it with you, kind of thing. Instead of it still being a very hard and fast you and us, It was just trying to merge it a little bit, which I appreciated. I think when we talked to CZ, didn't he remember one of your smoke sessions too? Like,
Yes, he did.
and then he apologized for it, I think.
Well, no, man. Yeah.
Or maybe I'm
Yeah,
thinking
that's
of
a
somebody else.
no, you're dead on. You're dead on. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, he apologized for something else afterwards.
Oh, okay, that's what it was then.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was actually going to tell this story, but yes, my team in PJU also got the dog. That was not the same smoke session. So that was the same team, different one. Like that was Colonel Lopez at the time was, I want to say he was the DO, or maybe he's the commander. I think he might have been the commander at this time. He walks out bed. The old schoolhouse had a mud pit out back, and it's exactly what it sounded like. There were the old towers that were back over on the what's it, the west side of Kirtland. Before they got the big new building, there was another building. There was a mud pit in the back. That's where teams would get smoked. Lopez walks out. Colonel Lopez walks out. He looks at us, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Hey, Aaron, I've been here for like 3 years. I have seen 2 other teams go into the mud pit. This is the 3rd time that your team has been in the mud pit." And I was like, hey man, it
Really
was
bad.
it was dude, I had nothing to say about it. I mean, I want to say like the second day of PJU we got smoked because we had like 3 or 4 guys, one of which, by the way, anyway, crazy story about me calling. I was like, hey, this person is going to do this thing because they can't stop doing this thing, and then we're going to get in trouble for them. And unfortunately, the chain of command there at the time, like CZ and I had to talk about it. He was I want to say he was like the training guy or something when I was going through school. And he was just like, listen, man, he's like, yeah, it might happen, it might not, but we can't keep him off team because of it. I was like, okay, cool. I would love, it was me and my other staff sergeant that's now at Crow, friend of mine. We were just like, hey, if we could get a little bit of leniency when it does happen, because it's going to happen. So short story, some dudes went out, made some bad decisions about alcohol and cars and how late they stayed out. So I didn't find out that 3 of my dudes were literally sitting in jail until the minute we were supposed to step off to go run to the schoolhouse. And I was like, hey, I'm down. Like, what? I looked at one. I was like, where are these guys? Somebody comes pulling in. They get out and they were like, hey, bad news. These guys are in jail. They're not going to make the showtime. And I was like, oh, tight. Okay. I was like, how long ago was this? And they were like, oh, kind of like last night, like 4 a.m. And I was just, I had no idea. Nobody called me. Nobody told me. So then I just had to go to the schoolhouse and be like, hey, I know we're trying to go into mountain phase right now, but I got a guy with a DUI, and I just found out about it myself, so I figured I'd let you know. It did not go well. But that was kind of the tone. That was the our PJU team was notoriously bad. But what I will say to your point about instructors getting down there and doing it with you, for part of the smoke session that CZ was referencing, we had to dig graves. We had to dig 3 graves because we did not get the leniency we had asked for when the foreseeable, like the thing happened, and we were like, we told you that was going to happen. We told you that was going to happen with these specific dudes. We told you straight up. And then they were like, nah, it was your fault. You got to dig graves. We're like, all right, side. CZ, that used to be during the period of Blues Monday. So you'd have your blues on Mondays, which was the dumbest thing ever. However, it was still like a thing. Well, CZ was in his blues. So he comes out and takes off his huge ribbon rack, takes off his like undershirt. He's in blues pants and blouse boots, and he dug every single one of those graves with us. Like that is the type of instructor that you have. He's like, well, I'm not fucking too, above coming out and digging these graves with you guys. He's like, I'll go do it. But the instructors all the way through the pipeline, that is a very, very established part of the culture that I've always liked. Like at the schoolhouse at PJU, we would have our guys be the team leaders for their tactical stuff, because it's not fair to take a student and be like, okay, pretend to be the leader of this thing. You're not training him to be a leader of the thing. You're training him to be an apprentice. He should be a team member. Like you shouldn't. It's always the weirdest thing where like, well, you're a staff sergeant, so you're going to lead this thing out. And then it turns into me critiquing you, how you performed as like a team leader. Like,
you don't know how to do it.
He's never even seen it. Right.
Yeah.
They don't know what it looks like. They've LARPed with their friends. They don't have the benefit of doing that. So that's what we started doing at the schoolhouse, is you would take, your team leaders, especially guys that were in like 7-level upgrade training, man, throwing them in front of 15 scenarios out at tactics to plan, brief, guide guys through. You want to talk about stepping your leadership game up like that. Try to teach students that have no idea what's going on. It's easy to get to a team of experienced operators. Like if you're like, hey, who's leading this thing? Experienced operator guy will be like, I am. And everybody just goes, okay, great. So you're this guy, and they just fall in and go to work. Students don't do that. Like you gotta, priorities of work, you gotta TLP them up. Like you gotta go through all of those things. But we started doing it, and the feedback from the instructors was awesome too. They were like getting out and walking with the teams and getting that tactile, that no kidding hands-on leadership to bring them through the instruction. And it's good on both ends of it. So that's something that's great. I don't think many people know about that either. It's like these instructors will get into it with you. If you think that they're not, if you think they're not going to get out there and get smoked too, or, when you get to the unit, if you think people aren't trying to physically hurt themselves on monster matches, you're insane. Because that competition turns on right away.
Dude, I love monster. Yeah, in terms of when instructors get involved, typically it's not going to be during your SWIC, ANS, and that kind of stuff, because there's still a very defined role between there, and the defined roles continue on throughout the entire time. But once you get to the end, or at least the last kind of crucible, if you will, of course, then instructors are going to get more involved from a teammate and an instructor perspective, because that instruction doesn't stop once you actually do get to your operational unit and your team. There's still instructors that are there, and I don't mean like prior pipeline instructors. I mean you're a PJ instructor. I'm a joint terminal attack controller, instructor, evaluator. So there's still instruction that is going on that happens from there. So, the learning never stops.
No, constant three level status.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, I lost it. I had something on that.
It looks so good too. What else did you do? So we hit deep end fitness. That's where we kind of like derailed into this tangent. So you were just making your West Coast. You linked up with BK Actual. You hit deep end fitness. What else did you do out in the great state of California?
I linked up with Special Operations Transition Foundation as well.
Heck yeah.
Sarah Holiday. Yep. So SOTF, I mean, you're tracking because you went through their program. I'm currently going through their program.
I'm currently going through their program, sir. How dare you?
I thought you had finished it up. So, yeah. So, what's fantastic about them is they from just touching base with them and getting accepted into their program to, well, I guess you haven't finished, so you don't even know what it looks like when you finish, but
right.
They walk you through personality testing types. They bring you to workshop events. They're introducing you to other folks that are other fellows that are in the program. Then I'm assuming like that's about where I'm at right now. So where are you at, or what have you done? Like
I'm in phase 3, so I'm casually looking for jobs. You know what I mean? Like I'm not turning any interviews down, but I'm not also like, beating down the door. We're lucky enough to have a little bit of those, those choices as we're here in Vegas. So it's been great just to be a stay-at-home dad, which has been super duper cool. But I'm in phase 4. So I'm interviewing a couple different places, and they basically open the network, and, I talk with Bobby all the time. What's up, Bobby? He's awesome. But it's everything. Like he's my touch point. I'll just be like, bro, does my resume look right? Like Carrie helped craft resume and making sure like things that are not only displayed properly and things that like look correct, but how to actually organize it. Some really good stuff in there. The resume writing classes and modules on your little drive in there are ridiculously good. They're super handy and they're very clear. You're like, oh, there's a template. I can just use this, and it's great. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just fine tuning stuff and then learning like a crap ton. I'll just call Bobby and I'll be like, hey, I'm about to have this conversation. I don't know what to say. How do you even open these sort of things? And it's a lot of mentorship, honestly. It's, making connections through, the local area, like you mentioned, and meeting people in the same space on the Zooms and then talking to them. It's been super good. Can't speak highly enough about SOTF. It's been awesome. But they're there for everything, and it's super cool. I just saw it today. Somebody else got picked up. They put their little like announcement out, like, congratulations, he accepted a position. So it was awesome. It's always good to see those.
Yeah. And I think it's it's good because it is tough for us, having done it for whatever amount of time. The stuff in the military doesn't, like, at least the language in the military doesn't always translate into the private sector. And when the language that we use in the military is a lot of we, team based, a collective, an organization, and stuff like that. Whereas private sector is like, okay, cool, we don't necessarily think like that, or that doesn't translate to us. It's what did you do? And and most of us really don't like saying, well, I did this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to learn how to communicate it. That's definitely, and it's a tough thing to do, especially when you need to learn, just looking at like the corporate world, learning what names mean things. Like I can tell you how big a battalion is, but I can't tell you like, okay, well, what's a director supposed to do? Like a director is an actual term, like in the bit, like how many people do they oversee and stuff like that. So, once you kind of orient yourself to it and figure it out, like you definitely need somebody to help you through it. And I'm the knucklehead with no 4-year degree, like 3 CCAFs and, no 4-year degree to show for my time. And just out here, raw dog in life, as a guy with a high school degree, essentially, and 20 years of service. That's basically it, man. But that's a testament to SOTF and how good they are, is they can take an idiot like me and make me marketable and like give me tools to actually have these conversations. Like shout out, like I'm an idiot.
Well, they're also able to take, because they already know the skills that you have and the skills that you've been assessed for, and their interactions with you, and they're able to take that and then go, okay, so the way that you just handled that, or the way that you're navigating this, that is how this correlates and directly goes into, and that's how you articulate that into this for that position or that skill set.
Right.
And I think the important thing to know is that, so many of those folks that are graduating, I say graduating, or then involved with SOTF or any of the other foundations that are doing good work, is it's not that you're, like you said, you got a couple resumes out there and stuff like that, but you're not struggling to find anything, because you're not like, oh my God, I got to find something. What's going to do? It's
because we planned for so long for, you know what I mean? Like, right. And that the funny undercurrent to this is when people ask us like, what can I do afterwards? How does this directly translate? Like, this is how it directly translates. Like my pragmatic planning and ability to look up, forecast for stuff has given me the opportunity to really just chill out and be deliberate about stuff. And the way that I handle problems is completely different than people now that I talk. Like when I have these interviews, or when I, have the pleasure of just meeting like regular folks, right? Like I'm a regular dude now. I'll sit and have a conversation with them in a bar, and they'll be like, oh, this thing is so complex. And it's funny because I'll just be like, is it really? You have a timeline, just plan backwards. Here's how you plan. Here's how your risk analysis looks. Here's how you decide on a COA. It might not, you got to get to a 90%. Like no, it's really not that hard. But regular people don't think like that. I don't know how to communicate that to people in the business world. I can show you, like, if you give me a problem set, I can crush this problem set and then go on to the next one. Like, just give me a room with a whiteboard in it and, a computer, I guess, and we'll go from there. But when people ask us like, what can you do afterwards? How do these skills translate? Man, like this, like you can do anything you want, entrepreneurs or PAs or guys that make pararescue coloring books, just in their spare time. Like the amount of things that we do is ridiculous. So
yeah,
it's a good thing.
SOFT skills.
Yes.
They're soft skills. And it's not really something that you learn at school. I mean, it's not something that you learn academically. It's things that you learn in those social environments. It's things that you learn in certain situations, and it's stuff that it is difficult to be taught. Other than the fact that the military does put you in situations to help you learn that
over and over and over again at low levels, and at levels that you don't want to even play around. Like you're just like, I'm so sick of doing this one stupid task, but you'll do it continually. You will fill out that vehicle sheet every morning you drive a GOV. I don't think you do
the old
that
1800.
The 1800, yeah. I don't think you have to do that anymore, man. It was a big man. Everywhere we went, we had a vehicle NCO. Oh, you guys didn't fill out the packet. No, I get it. We didn't fill out the packet. It's a truck. We just drove it. Here, you fill it out.
Hopped in and went.
I went to the shopette, dude.
Yeah. Also met up with, we had 2 days worth of professional development with Dr. Preston Klein.
Heck yeah.
So,
How's he doing?
dude, that guy is
I love that
nuts.
dude.
Like, he is incredibly smart. And so we had him in a room of, I think there were 40 of us, right? All commanders, all senior enlisted, a couple of director of operations, right? And having all of us with uninterrupted for 2 days of professional development was, and any kind of spears or questions or anything like that, he had answers to, and he had data to back it up. And it's like,
Nice.
dude, I don't. And the guy is also an incredible storyteller, which is part of it, because he could tell a story and give you, hit critical point. It could be a detailed story, but he would hit critical points in it, and then in 30, he'd have us regurgitate it in 30 seconds. Okay, now tell the whole story, get the main points across in 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was able to tell the story so well and highlight certain points or make certain inflections in the important parts of the story, you're able to regurgitate and tell it and remember it. And you're like, dude, how is that even possible? Like, I didn't know
What
that
is
was
this
a thing,
voodoo
but
witch magic?
it was like storytelling type stuff.
Quit teaching me new stuff. I'm old.
Yeah.
Dr. Preston Klein.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
But he's doing great and providing high quality training for folks, as you'd expect.
As you would expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But I think that wraps up really what I did.
Yeah.
It was a busy week.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Trying to talk to you on the way home, and it was just you're out in the middle of nowhere. You're like, this isn't going to work. I was like, no, I'll hop on a phone call. It did not work. It
did not.
5 seconds on the phone and immediately dropped.
Yeah. I did run into Chief Garcia from the RQS just randomly because Jack Earnsall retired.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think on the USS Midway, actually, I think is where he had his ceremony, which is pretty badass.
That is a flex right there.
Yeah. So that's what Garcia was out there to do. And then I ran into Mike Sotelo, who's a retired SEAL out there that I went to school with. So yeah, it was busy.
Oh, man, I love living in Vegas. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Like you're close to San Diego. It's just a little ride, little drive out there. Just go and check out the gas lamp. Go see SoCal. Just dip them toesies in the Pacific Ocean.
Nothing little about it when an 18-wheeler full of lithium-ion batteries crashes on I-15 and shuts it down for 2 days, though.
Oh, that's the absolute worst. Oh my goodness, that is terrible, dude. I was driving on 215. I don't know. This was, 2 months ago, month and a half ago. But I was driving around 215, and out of I see this huge plume of black smoke, and I'm like, "What is that?" It looked like an explosion. So sure enough, I start driving around, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Apparently, a car was going like 100 miles an hour the wrong way on 215, and ran into it like another car or a semi or something, and just straight up exploded. I was just like, "Bruh," it was crazy. Crazy.
That's bad.
That's super bad. So what are you doing today, buddy? You doing anything fun? We're going to go down. Our friend's staying at the Aria, so we're going to go down and meet up with her and have food and chill out at the Aria.
That sounds nice.
It might be nice. We were gonna do a live today, but now I can't because of the aforementioned friend and hanging out.
Trent crushed a live the other day.
Yeah, he did.
He did solo. He wasn't expecting to do solo because we were thinking that I would have decent enough LTE, but he ended up doing very well, and he went kind of ranty on things, and I'm trying to remember.
Ranty now. I like it.
Yeah, he's an old curmudgeon now, but I can't remember what it was he was ranting about, but it was pretty damn good. And he even afterwards was kind of like, he had that build up, and he's just like, he's just drilling down.
He just winds up for a big one and just takes a swing at something.
Yeah.
I love it. That happened the other day. We were talking about something on the war room, and they were asking, I think it was like the political section. I was just like, hey guys, I'm going to have a question for everybody. I was like, I'm just teeing you up for big swings. I'm like, just when you see the softball, just go ahead and take a swing at it. Like Jake just starts laughing. He's like, I can't wait. That dude.
That guy's hilarious.
Wild card. Anytime he starts talking, I'm like, man, this is a good time to remind everybody we're all 4 separate people. If I didn't say it, it doesn't mean I agree with it. So, sometimes Jake says some stuff, man. Like, I love Ben's face too. Ben is the greatest. He's always like, hey, listen, everybody owns their own words on this podcast, right? I didn't say that.
Tell us a little bit about that though. Like, so you're doing the war room right now.
Yeah.
You've got Jay Dorlius, right, from
Yep.
Green Beret Chronicles.
Yep.
You've got
Ben
Jake.
Pappas. Yeah, Jake Zwig. Jake Zwig is a former Navy SEAL naval officer. And then Jay Dorlius was was he a Bravo? So he just got out after 20 years, so retired. And we've had him on. So Green Beret Chronicles, and he's been on our show, and we've been on his, which has been fun.
Does Ben Pappas have any? I know he's on socials.
He is, but he's wasn't involved in any other projects before this one. And then Ben was one of the first Mars Hawk Raider commander dudes. So it's good. It's 2 enlisted dudes, 2 officers, they're just all retired now, and we just sit around and BS. And the whole focus of the show is to try to, like, man, somebody's got to be that big brother, that uncle, that mentor today for these young kids. We talk about culture and stuff, but we sprinkle in, man, life lessons and mentorship lessons and lessons as a dad and stuff that we wish we would have, told, some people, so that, you can come and listen to us, BS about politics. We talk about funny news stories. We cover, stuff. Think like, I don't want to compare too much here. I'm not saying we're this good, but like the PBD podcast, like if you've ever seen how they do it, where, guests and panel flows in and out, or like, Pat McAfee show, same deal, man. Like, we get in there and talk, but we always have an eye to, like, listen, we've had these experiences. We want to guide the next generation of dudes. So if come for the laughs, come for the jokes. We don't agree on everything. We argue about stuff. Like, I'm constantly looking at Ben and being like, how do you sleep at night? You prick, which is like a funny running joke. Cause Ben's great, but every time like Ben gets it, we'll talk about something and Ben just right into commander mode messages. He's like, well, I don't know, maybe there's some stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't fully know. So I'd really like to unpack. I was like, Ben, you son of a bitch, officer.
Is Ben the only officer or prior officer?
No, well, Jake is, but like, okay. Jake doesn't count as a prior officer. Like, he would just burn stuff to the ground. Hilarious. Jake's wig is hilarious, but no, but it's good. But we're getting a lot of good feedback, and we do want to just, man, we want to sneakily try to, lead, guide, mentor, give some people some ways to talk about, stuff going on in the reason why people, we talk about politics a lot, but the reason why people are stupid on politics and don't understand like a lot of this is because for so long we're like, well, you don't talk about politics and religion in public. Like, why not? Why not have that discussion? Like, why not say, hey, like, this is my idea. Oh, this is my idea. I think your idea is bad. I think your idea is bad. Let's compare them. Oh, it turns out your idea is bad. Okay, I was right. We move on. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
And I think not talking about that has created more of the problem.
Yeah, it's led to more people. Yeah, it's like
it's kind of like the whole quiet professional kind of thing. Like, hey, that's done great for messaging and recruiting.
Great.
Same with don't talk about politics, religion, that kind of stuff. I think we have to, or else you're left wondering.
Well, like, and we talk about it here on the show to try to at least get people the information, right? Like, good, bad, or indifferent. And, Trent said it in the sit downs that he had with like lowercase dooms. Everybody's goal is the same. Like, everybody's goal is to get people the information that they can use in order to make the most informed, decision. The part of that equation that it always ticks me off, that Air Force messaging screws up all the time. Part of that equation is telling people the bad stuff on purpose. It is telling them like, yeah, here's a meme about them firing this commander over in Oki. And, the people out there are going to be like, oh, that can't really happen. No, it 100% happened. Here's the entire laydown. Like, I'm sorry, but this is what it is. Like, you need to know that this stuff goes on if you're going to get in and do it. Like, now, granted, I want you to look at these jobs. I want you to consider trying to do one of these jobs. I think that, it's a righteous mission, especially for us. Like, if you want to serve in that way, like, okay, but you should also know the good, the bad, and the super ugly, of which there's a lot.
Yeah, because if you're not open about it, then it kind of means that if you're purposely omitting it.
Like, I'm not here to shill. I'm not here to lie to you I don't care to. Like, people, and it's funny because I am so vocal about my distrust of any number of systems or any number of stances that I've had. They're all out there. I don't have to belabor you with them here, but people are like, oh, well, how is it that you're still doing, one's ready with all this other stuff? But like, well, because two things can be true at the same time. Like I can have a very negative view of all of these things. I can say that a lot of these things need to change fundamentally. And that if I was king for a day, I would burn them to the ground, because that's true in a lot of things. It's also true that if you give people the right information and you let them make an informed choice, you can influence everybody that's going in at the ground level over and over and over again. You know what happens every June? Our DMs blow up because people are graduating high school and they're starting to look at, hey, this summer, like I'm going to take a little bit of time off. Come fall, I'm thinking about enlisting. And we do that every single year. We can influence everybody in a positive manner to change the culture of what is going on. If you're open and honest and transparent about it. It's not omitting the bad stuff. It's owning the bad stuff and being like, hey, if you want to get in, you got to start leaning into these fixes, because here's what's going on behind the curtain. Don't make the mistakes that we did. Like I was stupid to that shit for way too long.
Well, yeah, you're naive to it, and you're like, there's no possible way that we could do that. The Air Force would do that, or that leadership would do that, or the government would do that, or
you learn that
buddy,
lesson
or that
over
your buddy
and over
would
again.
do that.
Right.
And you're like, man, I was really naive to that. And I think that's where, when you hear a lot of folks say, well, the recruiter lied to me. Maybe that recruiter did lie to you, or maybe they just omitted information, or maybe they, because things are slow that time, maybe they weren't completely transparent with you, or maybe you just didn't get all the information and that kind of stuff. So that can also be true.
So my son hits me up with a text and he was like, hey, my girlfriend went into the Navy recruiter to talk about possibly enlisting as a med officer. This is what they said. And I'm not here to blow anybody up, right? Like I'm not calling anybody out. He's like, but this is what they said. They were like, I wonder if I can give specific detail. This is what was communicated to me. And I want to say, like, this is passed from her to him to me, because he heard it and he was like, that doesn't sound right. But I know a guy that knows this answer. So they basically told her that they would pay for undergrad. They would pay for med school anywhere she wanted to go. And she would owe a 2-year service commitment after that. I said, you're a smart man. I was like, hey man, I don't know if she didn't understand. I was like, so couple of issues here. Pay for undergrad. Okay, cool. But she's going to have to like sign a contract for that. Like she's either going to go to UShoes or she's going to go to some undergraduate program. I was like, especially the Navy, they do everything at UShoes in Bethesda, Maryland. So like there's really, it's the uniform services, Health Sciences University, or University of Health Sciences, UShoes, in Bethesda, Maryland. But it's like
where their med school is.
It's where a huge med school. I mean, it's like for all 4 services. I think all flight surgeons go there. Like if you get in to be a flight surgeon, like you go through UShoes. Like the doctor or the PA program is run out of. There's a ton
I know
of
Bethesda's
stuff.
like medical mecca.
Yeah, it is, and it's Navy mecca. So that's where they send everybody, right? So I was like, first of all, like I don't know where that's like fits into this, or if that's what they're saying. I was like, but that's crazy, number one, to just pay for your school. And then number two, send you to med school anywhere you want. I don't know if you can just pick Harvard. You know what I mean? Like, hey, send me to Harvard. Like if I apply and get into this thing, you're going to pay for Harvard or Dartmouth, right? It's $90,000 a year. So I was like, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Maybe in the game of telephone, something wasn't right. But then we got to the service commitment and I was like,
that's the part where I was like,
I was like, bro, if you go to the academy, you owe 4 years after that. You know what I mean? You owe an 8-year commitment for the academy, to go to the academy. And that time is owed. Like,
I mean, you have commitments when you put on rank.
Yeah.
Not every rank.
Right.
But
like
certain tiered ranks.
Yeah, E7, E8, E9. Yeah. You have to have like 3 years, 2 years, and 3 years. If you
go attend the weapons school, that's a 3-year commitment for enlisted and for officers.
Woo! Dang.
So there's an active duty service commitment just to attend the weapons school.
Right. So after 2 years, I was like, they're going to want more than 2 years out of you. I was like, especially if they just pay 8 years of your schooling and they got nothing back out of it. Like you're going to owe a bill. I was like, so I would go back. I was like, I don't think the recruiter because he was just like, yeah, is the recruiter like being disingenuous here? I was like, I don't think so, man. I was like, I think this is just, maybe the recruiter, maybe this is the first, medical officer candidate that they've ever talked to. And he's literally just like reading off of a fact sheet and being like, oh yeah, we can totally give you this and this. And, or she may have heard something incorrectly or didn't understand what it was. Like there's a million things. So
yeah, especially when you're just getting a fire hose of information and you don't always know the right questions to ask.
Right. Yeah, that's the big one there too. Is the recruiter might be going through the normal process and you just don't know what you don't know. So you don't know to be like, oh wait, hold on, what does that mean? So,
but oftentimes, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
It probably,
right?
It probably is.
You
That's
know,
the other thing I tell people all the time is they'll be like, oh yeah, the recruiter said this and the recruiter said I had to do this. And I was like, I hit somebody up on the DMs the other day and I was like, hold on, let me clarify your terms here. Did you sign a contract with the recruiter? And they were like, well, no. And I was like, well, then you can tell the recruiter whatever you want. You can tell them to stop talking to you and just walk out of their office. I'm like, you guys are entering into a negotiation. Like, granted, the recruiter comes from the position of power, right? Because he's like hiring for you for a job, but you still get to negotiate. You still don't just have to be like, okay, I'll take whatever job and ship out in 2 weeks. Like, no, if you want to be a PJ and you want to wait until you feel ready, then tell them that and tell them you'll sign the contract when you're ready and you'll go ahead, whatever. Like, I don't know. It cracks me up. I'm like, you're entering into a negotiation. You're negotiating a contract for the next at least 4 years of your life, 6 years of your life, if it's a 6-year contract. So you should pay attention to it and get what you want.
Yeah. Now, there are certain things that are non-negotiable. Like,
sure,
if you sign up for a 6-year and you're like, I want my bonus now up front, and you're like,
signing bonus. Man, I'm the number one pick out of high school.
Yeah,
Call me
think
Kobe.
we're just gonna hand this right on over to you. Like, it doesn't quite work like that.
No, you got to go graduate some shit, homie. You got to. I'll give you that after you get out of tech school, my guy.
Yeah,
you know when you got a beret
you
on.
Can't. I think that isn't it 12 months is the most you can stay in depth, like in the kind of delayed.
I think they always in the development program. I think
depth
a year is like correct. I think you can stay in depth for longer than a year. But I think a year is like the sweet spot. Like they, from time that they get in, that's the goal, is get them prepared throughout that year and then ready to go.
I know a lot of developers or the recruiters will boot you if you have, well, they'll boot you before a year if you're not showing dedication, progression, like the will to be there, the motivation to be there. So yeah, you'll get booted before that. But if you're in development and you just kind of keep, oh, well, now this happened and now this happened, it's pretty obvious that like you're likely not ever going to actually come in, because you keep just you're full of excuses and you keep kicking the can down the road, to which you're going to get removed, as you should be, because now you're just taking up a spot from somebody else and wasting a developer and a recruiter's time. So
it's those dudes, and then the other annoying development program, archetype, are like kings of depth. Like they're just really good at the development program, but they're like delaying getting in. I don't want you to be really good in development. Be like 90% good in development and then get in and go be great at SWAS. Go be great at the assessment selection and get picked up. Like, I don't give a shit how awesome you are, in the middle of Ohio, 3 times a month. Like, I'm sorry. And I'm not talking about anybody specifically. Come on, man. Like, I don't give a shit.
You're just using Ohio.
I am. Yeah, I was mean because I did. Yeah. Well, dude, when Trent and I went out that was one thing that was a while ago now. Worst sunburn I've ever had. Shout out Mark Bunkley and having us out to Monterey for the development. I got so sunburned from that. So sunburned. Anyway, that was the thing that, Trent and I really raised my eyebrows, is there were some absolute monsters out there. Dudes that I'm like, what do you do? Like, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to wait, 2 ships from now. So it's like 6 months, 7 months. And I'm like, oh my God, you're ready. What are you doing? Like, go. Like, dude, you're as good as you're ever going to be. The only thing that happens between now and then is overtraining and injuries. Like, what? Like, you're ready right now, man. You're just absolute monsters out there. Shout out to them NorCal bad boys doing it the right way. You can definitely tell they're preparing the right way.
I'm sure the developers are telling them that too. Like,
I would think so, right? Ready. Like, because all the developers
maybe legally they can't.
No, there's no problem with that, with giving them objective evaluations. I wish I could pull his name up. Remember the guy that we went and we actually supported in Ohio? I can't remember his name. I'll find it and give him a shout out appropriately. I've been meaning to ask him. He's a T3I developer dude, but man, he absolutely crushed it. He would tell people too, like he had individual feedback sessions where he's just like, hey, here's where you are. I think you're ready to go. Like, I don't know. I think it's easy and it's comfortable, right? Like once you get to, again, you're the big fish in a small pond, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, if you're that number one person in a freaking development session, like
you're in the wrong development session. Go find a harder one.
You're probably ready to go. Probably ready to go.
Yeah. Well, we got to get to a development session out here in Vegas. We're gonna go find one of those.
Yeah. Oh man, God, dude, I'm terrible with names and everything today.
Bobby Wesson.
Well, Wesson is the recruiter. Tony is his first name. Golly, I hate that I'm actually forgetting it.
You're doing great.
I am. Yeah, I'm crushing it. Crushing it on a Sunday morning.
Just absolutely.
Man, just really nailing
it.
I mean,
fantastic.
So much so. Donna was telling me a story last night, and it's like this only happened like recently. She was telling me that Wyatt had said something really, really funny to her, and that I was dying on the couch about it. And I was like, I don't know. She goes, you don't remember that? Like, what is wrong with you? It's like, no, I don't, because she had retold me and I was dying laughing last night. She's like, you've heard this before. Like, no, dude, what is your problem?
Same thing with this one. Same thing with T. She's like, I just ask her every day. I'm like, what are we doing today? She's like, it's on the calendar. I was like, I don't remember anything. She's like, we've talked about it. I'm like, okay, Ty. You don't ever need to say that to me ever again, because I guarantee that we have, and I just totally dropped this off. I just
think we've talked about it.
I accept it. Can you just talk to me like I'm 3 as far as scheduling is? Just where do you need to be? It happened earlier. I was like, yeah, we're gonna do a live at noon. She's like, okay. She's like, we're going to meet Shalyn right away. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that, because we've talked about it for 2
weeks. Place, right uniform.
That's it. Don't be
That's
late.
The only
Don't
thing
be late.
You need to be successful.
That's it. Time, place. Hey, where am I supposed to be? What are you wearing? How dressy do you want me to be? Okay, what time are we leaving? All right, I got the kid. Put him in the car seat.
3 things to be successful on team. Right place, right uniform.
Right place, right time, right uniform. That is it. Something to write with, something to write on.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple more, but like
have some sort of note taking.
Baseline, like foundational.
Oh man, I can't wait until we have, the ones ready tips for a successful marriage. And it's just be on time, right place, right uniform. It'll save your marriage.
Hey, what does a successful marriage look like? That's what you got. Like, define that.
Yeah, What's no up? Shit. Yeah, no shit. All right, man. Feels like a good time to end it.
Listen, everybody out there, please check out Drink Hoist, right?
Just do it.
Drink Hoist, promo code One's Ready for great hydration stuff. Check out cardomax.com. Use the promo code One's Ready. Great stuff over there. Who else we got? We got 18 Out Fitness for training programs. The number one ready for any kind of tailored training program for from Kevin. Who else we got? We're losing. What's that?
Attack Elite.
So onesready.com
for everything. Yep.
For all the needs there. We're losing Trench, and that's not because they're leaving or that like they're saying adios, you guys suck. They're just moving to Germany, and there's tight laws in terms of coffee beans, stuff like that. So give them 3 to 4 years, and then they're will
reemerge. Back. If they don't come back with like the Undertaker brew, like their return, the resurrection cup of coffee. I want something. I want, like, we got time to workshop it, boys. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. And then with any luck, Anthem snacks.
I love Anthem.
Turkey. They'll pick us up. Maybe we'll see.
Man, I would love to work with Anthem. Laura Sanko, what's up? I'm in Vegas. You're in Vegas. You do jiu-jitsu. You're a great UFC commentator. You're on Team Anthem. It just makes sense. I'll just come say hi. Every time I talk about this with Trent, it's funny. It's a running joke with Tara. She was like, "Oh my god, Laura Sanko is your celebrity crush." I'm like, she's hilarious. She works here in the city. It's funny. Laura Sanko is married. I am also married. But we laugh every time. She was like, "You sound like such a stalker," and I was like leaning into that in the group chat. It's actually so cringy that I won't go into it here. But it's pretty funny. I was laughing.
Catch a case that way. That's
Anthony,
why
you will. Yeah, it's because people think they know like exactly what my intent is. Like when I say things like that, and I'm like, you can't say that in the open forum. That
I don't say that.
I don't know that woman. Like I don't talk like that about people just for stuff.
But then they're not a sponsor or anything like that, but they're definitely friends of ours, and it's Deep End Fitness. So find one in your area. If you want to get an idea what a pool session might end up being like that's not in development, or you just want to work on some pool work or good workouts or anything like that, Deep End Fitness, they're kind of scattered all around the country, and they're actively growing. So
shout out Deep End Fitness.
Yeah, there we go.
Keep crushing. All right.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and everybody out there, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a review, notification bell, all that kind of good stuff that every YouTuber is supposed to say.
Hey, just go to any good channel that has a good like ad read or call to action at the end. Just listen to theirs and then do like subscribe, send a message, review. That'd be tight. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Later.
Go get somebody good.